I just want to say sorry for my little break I had. It was just very busy and crazy because it's almost Christmas, so to make up for it, I am going to be doing a Izuku X listener Merry Christmas, or Christmas edition, but that's what it's called. So yeah, let's just get straight into it because don't really have a lot to say right now, so yeah. Izuku, Merry Christmas, I said to my best friend. I gave him a wrap box and he smiled. Go ahead, open it, I said, and he tore and threw the wrapping. He opened the box and found an oversized All Might hoodie that he could wear when he was older. I got you a gift too, he said, and handed me a small box. I pulled the wrapping off and opened the pretty box. Inside, I found a necklace, earring, and bracelet set. I gasped. Izuku, this is so beautiful, I said, and he smiled. I'm glad you like it. Mom picked it out, he said, and I put the set on. I hugged Izuku tightly. Now, I walked to Izuku's house for our normal Christmas routine. I spend the night at his house for Christmas Eve, and we all hang out on Christmas. I knocked on the door, and he answered, without a shirt. Oh, hey, listener. Come in, he said and moved. It was raining, and my clothes were soaked. Can I borrow some clothes? I said and blushed. He nodded and walked to his room. He put the hoodie I'd given him years ago on. I had the set he had given me on the same day on. He handed me a 4-screen shirt with a favorite colored hoodie and sweatpants. You can have these. They're too small for me anyways, he said, and I went to the bathroom, changing into fresh clothes. I buried my face into the oversized hoodie and smelled it. It smelled like the small bean himself. I smiled and walked out, finding him in the living room. Hey, Izuku, I said, and he looked at me. You look great, he said, and I smiled. Thanks. So what do you want to do? I asked, and he turned around. Board games? He asked, and I smiled brightly. Miss Inko, come play with some board games with us, I said, and the lady walked out smiling. Sure, listener, he said, and pulled out the board games. I spotted one right away. Yahtzee, I yelped, pulling the game out. My eyes sparkled, and both of the people in the room laughed. I used to play this all the time with my dad, I said, and opened the game, quickly setting it up. I gave Inko and Izuku a paper that fit one for myself. Why don't you go first, Miss Inko? I said, and handed her the dice. She smiled and rolled, pulling 3 4s and 2 6s. She kept the 4s and grabbed the 6s. When she rolled, she got 1 and a 2. She picked the one up and rolled it, getting a 3. She shrugged and marked something on her paper. Yahtzee, I shouted, and Izuku slouched. I ruffled his hair and brushed slightly. That's his 3rd time. How are you so good? He asked, still pouting. I laughed and shrugged. Just think, if I had my dice, I would win on the first try with this, I said, showing him a golden bracelet on my wrist. This allows me to put any number I want and get Yahtzee every time, I said, and he slouched lower, crossing his arms. Well, it's getting late. Why don't you two go to bed? Miss Inko said, and I realized how late it was. I nodded, helping Izuku up and dragging him to his room. I sat on the blanket that I had laid out, and Izuku shook his head. Picking me up, I yelped, and he placed me on his bed. Izuku, what are you doing? I asked, and he smiled. I'm not going to let you sleep on the floor, he said, and I shook my head. But I can't let you sleep on the floor, he said, and sighed, walking to the bed and lying down on it. I blushed, and he looked up with a funny look. Aren't you going to lay down? He asked, and my blush deepened. I laid down and turned my back to him. I soon fell asleep. But just before I could, I felt something wrap around my waist, and my face was pushed against my back. Morning. I woke up and felt something very warm behind me. I turned around, and a blush spread across my face at first. I saw Izuku asleep, hugging me from behind. I realized there was a lack of space. Is he spooning me? My blush deepened, and I wiggled out of his grasp, replacing myself with a pillow. I sighed and missed the warmth that was on my back. I got out of the bed and walked to the door. Then I looked back at Izuku. He hugged the pillow tighter, burying his face into it. I reached in my pocket and pulled out the friend charm I had gotten for him. I walked downstairs and sat on the couch. I heard a few taps on the floor and turned, seeing Miss Inko. Morning, listener, she said, and I smiled. She sat down next to me and I sighed. Do you know who Izuku likes? As Miss Inko smiled. He hasn't told me anything, she said, and I nodded. Mom, listener? I heard a husky voice from the hall. I blushed slightly and turned to see Izuku. He had a small blush on his face, but I couldn't pay attention to it. Izuku, honey, why don't you get dressed? his mom said, and he nodded, going back to his room. As he soon came out and smiled at me. Hey, Hey, listener, do you want to go somewhere? He asked, and I shrugged. Sure. We left, and he led me to the park. When we got there, he took me to the swings. Hey, listener, I have something to tell you, Izuku said, and I smiled at him. You can tell me anything, Izu, I said, and suddenly he was right next to me. My face lit up in the color red as Izuku's nose touched mine. Our lips brushed against each other, and my blush deepened. Izuku looked as if he was having second thoughts, so I quickly closed the gap in between us. His eyes widened as mine squeezed shut. Soon he started to kiss me back, and I wrapped my arms around his neck. We pulled away, and he looked in my eyes. Merry Christmas, I said, and he smiled. I pulled out the friendship charm. He smiled and took one of the charms. I love you, he said, and I blushed slightly. Will you go out with me? He asked, and I smiled. I'd love to, I said, and he picked me up, throwing me over his shoulder. Izu! I laughed, and he started to walk me back home. So that was all for my Izuku X YN Christmas. Yes, it was very short. I'm going to try to find some more for the other characters. And I am sorry for my voice and me messing up. And I will put a picture of the bracelet, necklace, and earring set. I will put a picture of what it looks like so you know. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And so don't worry, this is not my only video for tonight. I'm going to be making a lot more. And then I might end up doing another fantasy book and continue the fantasy Toru Bakudeku X listener. And also let me know, would you rather me say listener, reader, YN? What would you want me to say for meaning you? And I might start taking requests where I might do them instead of YN or anything, I might start saying your names because I feel like that'd be a good Christmas. It'd be around Christmas, so I might do those as presents to you guys. But yeah, let me know what you want. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want if you do want one. And yeah, that's it for this video. I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, my peeps.